What do you do when you finish running a monument? You're taking that juicy loot and you're running it all the way home. Or maybe you're going to a safe zone so that you can recycle and maybe even refine some oil. That can be a long journey, and that means plenty of stuff can go wrong. So if you're a smart player, you're living life out of multiple small bases scattered throughout the map. Today we're looking at a special base, my dome base design. You see, Dome is an amazing monument featuring an abundance of red barrels, the likes of which that you're not going to find anywhere else on the map. This leaves you in a unique situation to position yourself to never run out of fuel in your wipe. Whether you need meds, need to raid, or you just want to go for a joyride, fuel is a key aspect of Rust. So living near Dome puts you in a great position to go out, risking absolutely nothing, and making some progress. And while it does offer its own refinery, that one comes with a couple risks. That's why my dome base is a special fake 2x1 that's actually a refinery base that nobody would ever expect. When you're building a monument base, it's important to remember that this is not your main base. That this is not a place that you're going to keep all of your loot. Instead, it's a place to quick depot, to quickly respawn, or to store your loot between runs. For that reason, I make sure all of my monument bases are as small as possible. This reduces the likelihood that they get raided, and makes sure I can build it quickly with a minimal upkeep cost. Both of these factors together lead to a base that can last throughout the wipe, and isn't a big deal if it doesn't. Make sure you stick through to the end of the video, as I'm going to be covering a method to send all of your fuel and your scrap all the way to your main base with literally zero risk. Now, when building this base, the only thing that you really have to consider is elevation. You're looking for an area where this back corner is basically as low to the ground as possible, but this front area will still work for a triangle, and this side will still work for a square. Now, if it does work better, you can always switch which side you do it. And basically what you're looking for is one of your squares to be fairly low into the ground with absolutely no bleed throughs, and the one square next to the triangle to be a little bit lower into the ground. Having this bleed through in the back corner is actually ideal for this situation. Now that we've verified we have the right height, we can go ahead and put our two doorways for our airlock, close in this area here, close in our roof, and add a door frame. Once that's all closed in, we're gonna go ahead and upgrade everything except this foundation that I'm standing on. For this build, you are going to want to rush garage doors as quickly as possible, but if you only have double doors available, that will work for the time being. You'll just have to pick some things up a little bit later. Next, placing your TC, you're going to want to get it as flush into the corner back here as possible in this direction. This is going to give you room to place your tier 1 and eventually your tier 2 in this spot here. It won't, however, fit a tier 3, but I never recommend having a tier 3 in a base like this, but a tier 2 can be good for making some off-site meds. Next, we're going to go ahead and stick a back box in that corner there, and you're going to, if placed tight enough against that wall, you should be able to also get a box in here. If it wasn't tight enough, you just have to pick up that box and try again, ghosting partially through that back wall to get it as close to possible. And then we're going to try again here. Not perfect, but close enough and good enough. We can then slap a box here, a box here, and a fire pit here. Now obviously this is a very simplistic base and there's not too much going on to it. Now you can certainly add a triangle shelf, giving yourself a little bit more storage in this spot. However, that's not really necessary, as this base is mostly only being used for temporary storage. But if you did need a triangle, simply go ahead and build yourself your triangle shelving outside. And then that's going to give you room to place even more boxes. You're going to want to make sure this one is as tight to the back as possible. and that'll allow you to fit this one nicely in here. It's just 2 more boxes, but that does give you a lot more options. It's not completely necessary, but it can be incredibly useful. Of course, all sealed up and secure behind that room, we're now ready to place our refinery. There is actually a specific reason for this layout. You see, with the way we currently have things, we can actually destroy this foundation without destroying the walls. You'll now see that we've got these very low stability floating walls. Now, normally that is a bad thing, and the reason this actually works is it's gathering stability from this foundation, which is supporting these walls, connecting to this wall, and this foundation supporting this wall, connecting to this wall. Without those 2 factors, if you were to destroy the foundation, it would start opening up walls, and that would be incredibly problematic. With this design, we've got a minimalist design that will keep this up, floating up here no problem. We can now take advantage of this space here. Slapping this refinery, you're going to want to put it as far back into the corner as possible with the spout facing away from you. That's going to make getting through the base a little bit easier, but still requiring some jumping. With this, you'll now have your own personal refinery that you don't have to worry about somebody looting from you. And while sure, somebody with a keen eye might see that there's no foundation there, it doesn't actually let them do anything. They can't get into your base, they can't loot your refinery in any way, and everything will be safe inside. So now we have a good amount of fuel, scrap, or even components that we need to get from our farm base all the way to main base. Since the map can be quite far, and you might be a ways away from Dome, this journey can be incredibly risky. So how are we going to do that without any risk? It's actually a lot easier than you might think. Coming outside of the base, we're going to leech off of this spot here and just add 2 more triangles, creating a little bit more of an airlock, adding 2 door frames. One of these we're going to use as a regular door, and the other we're going to go ahead and put our vending machine in. Once we've done that, we're going to want to go ahead and set up some sell orders. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in fuel, and we're going to put in a buy option. You're going to want to put your fuel in a relatively high amount, and you're going to want to do this in a time where there isn't going to be someone else waiting outside that they're ready to loot from you. Now for your buy option, you're going to want to set up something that not everybody's going to have. One thing I like to use is unique skin options, like a skull, which I can respawn at a bag at outpost, and instantly I'll be able to do this trade. And the same can be done for scrap. Once you've respawned at outpost, you'll either want to quickly farm up some barrels at some substations, or even just some signs kicking around an outpost. That said, if you have a partner at your base setting up the sales for you, it can be very easy to coordinate a sale for even items like a torch. This can allow you to take care of that buy offer very quickly, only needing you to farm the delivery scrap. Once you have the goods, simply go ahead and look at your old base and make sure to send it all over. If done correctly, your resources should immediately appear in your vending machine at your main base. With no real reason to raid this base, and you shouldn't be keeping anything too valuable inside anyway, this base should last you throughout the wipe and make your life much easier. If you guys like the base, if you guys like the design, make sure to like the video, as well as subscribe for future content, as I'm going to be posting more amazing builds that are going to help out your wipe. Until next time, peace out.